Hello, Healthy Boundaries Workshop. My name is Taylor Gould, and I'm your token young person reporting in to talk about healthy boundaries in social media. I really wish I was in this space, but just this week I am in Oklahoma, unfortunately. In your packet of information, you'll find a lovely document titled Three Simple Rules for Social Media, which was put together by the Oregon Idaho Ministry Leadership Team back in March of 2012. This document serves as a reminder that these simple rules that we order our lives by are still very important when we hide behind our keyboards. Whether you use social media to share cat videos, which I love, stay in contact with distant family, or promote various church events, we are reminded that our actions can be seen by others, whether through your personal account or your ministry settings account. These guidelines of do no harm, do good, and stay in love with God serve as a reminder that each of our actions, online and offline, are public statements of our theology. We should always be striving to positively represent our theology, the church, the gospel, and of course, Jesus Christ. Social media has become sort of a town square for communication. It's a place where we can meet up with people virtually, learn about local happenings, and promote future events. But with communication technology continuously developing at the pace that it is, it's hard for us to keep up with what social media boundaries mean. And those three simple rules can serve as a guideline and a foundation for any social media interaction you have moving forward. So on the back side of the three simple rules for social media, there should be an image that helps explain a few of the many social media networks our communities may be communicating through. And it's titled Social Media Explained by Donuts. Now, I do have to admit that though I put together this graphic, it is inspired by Blue Star Delicious Donuts. I think they have one billboard at the PDX location. So as you can see, there are many platforms to connect with people about donuts, or hopefully in your case about the gospel of Jesus. New apps are created and popularized every single year, and so much so that it can be hard to keep track of what platform to use for what form of communication. For example, Snapchat is on the newer side of social media, and it is one of my favorite apps. If you don't know what it is, it's an app that lets you send images, videos, and chats, but it disappears after you see it. You can screenshot the image that was sent to you, but the sender will be notified that you took a screenshot. So if you're engaging with a youth group or any young people in your life, whether it be children, grandchildren, neighbors down the street, you may notice that most of them communicate through Snapchat, and you might want to join them. However, this form of communication is very private and undocumentable, and most safe sanctuary policies do not let adults have conversations with young people alone in a closed room, and Snapchat would be the social media equivalent of that interaction. So if someone were to send you an inappropriate photo, you have no way of communicating or of documenting it once it goes away. If you are reported by someone for sending something inappropriate, there's no way for you to document and prove that you didn't send something lewd. On the other hand, if you're connecting through Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter and you are messaged, it may still be a murky situation, kind of a messy boundary, but in those cases, there are ways to document the interaction in case you need to show a worrisome conversation to a third party. But even then, when connecting with an individual that is under the age of 18, it is always a good idea to check with the guardian to see if that connection is okay with them. A good rule of thumb to live by on social media is if you wouldn't do it in real life, maybe don't do it on social media. If you wouldn't have a private conversation with an underage person in real life in a closed room, and you really probably shouldn't, please don't do it on the internet. If you wouldn't attack a parishioner for their political leanings in real life, don't do it on the internet. If you wouldn't say a curse word in front of your parishioners in real life, and some of us do, but don't do it on the internet. In general, it is just a good idea to make sure that if you would not do something in real life, don't do it on the internet. Again, we're reminded to do good, do no harm, and to stay in love with God and make whatever communication we make a prophetic witness of that. Now, some of these boundaries, it's hard to put on paper exactly what boundaries you should follow because social media is evolving the way that it is. However, those 3 simple rules can help ground us and understanding that we shouldn't do anything on the internet that we wouldn't do in real life can help inform our interactions, but sometimes it's hard to put that into action. Now, I have a friend running a nonprofit where the staff interact with elementary age kids. And these kids a lot of them are communicating via Snapchat. And so the children have asked the staff members if they can connect via Snapchat. And the staff members at first thought it was a wonderful idea. This is a way to build communication, to build relationships, and to have that bond sustained when the nonprofit was not running. And to be able to check in on your kids who might be in a worrisome situation, if that's their only means of communication, it sounds like a really good idea to connect with them that way. However, there was some misunderstanding whether a child had sent an inappropriate picture to the staff member. The staff member had no way of reporting to their higher up exactly what that picture was, how they responded, or what context the picture came in. And so that nonprofit had just made it a rule that if they're under 18, you cannot add them on Snapchat. While in seminary, I had a friend who was actually brought up on charges by one of their parishioners for liking a page named I Love Science. Now, this page is a fantastic page with a lot of very important information about science and the progress that we're making in the world. And I do think that the church should be involved in scientific discoveries. However, the parishioner did not like that the name of the page had the F word in it. And so that just serves as a reminder that our parishioners can see every single word that we put on the internet. They can see every word of any page that we like, and they can see everything that we share. You know, there are ways to adjust privacy settings, but those aren't always guaranteed protections. So I do have to admit that even though I am a technologically savvy millennial and I understand all of these boundaries, that I myself have crossed those boundaries. One of my outlets for dealing with stress is to write about whatever is angering me or is serving as an obstacle in my work. And so one time I was working with a nonprofit and I had just left a particularly frustrating board meeting in which 1 or 2 board members were frustrating me. And to me, I perceive them as standing in the way of the ministry of the nonprofit. And so I got home that night and I typed out every angry thing that I had to say about them. And I typed it out on Facebook and I even tagged them in the rant. And I thought, it's fine, I'll just delete it instead of posting it. And I said some very intense things that I would not say in real life or around even people that I trusted. And right as I go to delete it, I accidentally hit send. And so I panicked. I deleted the post immediately, and I decided to deactivate my Facebook page out of fear of being in trouble for whatever had happened. And hopefully, if the people that I had tagged got a notification, it would show up blank because I wouldn't be there anymore. So, but then after I had deactivated my Facebook, I thought maybe that would be a fishy thing for them to realize. And so I ended up reactivating my Facebook page and sitting with it. And finally, I posted a very long, affirming rant. And not affirming of those people, but affirming of the other people in the nonprofit that had supported the ministry of the nonprofit, that had been there through it all to support me, to support the mission, and to stay in love with God. And I tagged each of them, and it ended up being like 30 some tags. And so if the people who I had tagged asked me about their tag, I can say that I just removed them from the affirming post. It was a really fearful situation, and everything blew over, and nobody saw what I had said, and I made amends with those board members that I had problems with. And so everything has resolved itself. But it is a scary thing. Even people who are aware of what social media is, the dangers of social media, and the different boundaries that pastoral presences should have on social media can still mess up. And so it takes admitting that wrong, and we are all working onward towards Christian perfection, are we not? So with that, I would love to move into a time of conversation. Since the invention of Facebook, it has been up for debate whether or not pastors should add their parishioners on Facebook. It is a social media tool that can be useful for communicating with your parish. You can invite them to an event, communicate the needs of the church, promote the church page, and you can even keep updated on their health for when they expect you to beat the ambulance to the hospital. However, having parishioners on your social media can make it feel more like work than an outlet. Shiny pastor and social media expert Jeremy Smith recommends that you do not add parishioners on your private page. But if you do, put them on a list and hide that list from your general posts. Other pastors have created pastoral Facebooks to separate the personal from work, and others have simply quit Facebook out of frustration. There's no perfect, all-encompassing answer to this boundary issue, but it is helpful to consider your own desires and uses for social media and then navigate what you think is best for your own situation. After navigating whether or not to add and follow your parishioners on social media, it's also important to consider how you are respecting other pastors' role on social media. Are you still friends with former parishioners? How might that impact the current pastor's role in their lives? Do you show support of other ministries and your own ministry by liking and sharing, or do you let your voice be heard in excess by commenting on everything? Again, there is no perfect answer to social media, but it's important to consider and to stay rooted in the 3 simple rules. Finally, social media can be a good and fulfilling tool. It can also become an addiction or a burden on our mental health. When using social media, be aware of how much time and energy you are investing in these outlets. Do you feel re-energized after scrolling through your feed? Do you have healthy communication with those connections? Is it complementing or overshadowing your real life? Now, let us move into a time of discussion. I am available by phone if there are any pressing questions, but I do know that there is enough knowledge and experience in that room that I should not be needed. Thank you so much for listening to me today, and I hope to see you each soon. Bye!